At-home hair dye kits are something many people use, but what's really in those bottles?
News 8's Joseph Viney has the results of a Consumer Reports investigation into popular brands that contain chemicals linked to potential health risks.
In January 2025, a California hairstylist filed a lawsuit against L'Oreal, Wella, Clairol, Redken, and Paul Mitchell. The allegation: decades of applying these products gave him bladder cancer. By June 2025, a California judge had consolidated 12 of these cases into a single proceeding. 12 hairstylists, 1 courtroom, the same brands. 10 of the most popular hair dye brands in America are on today's avoid list. 4 safer choices exist. We start with the most alarming one. Avoid brand 1. L'Oreal Paris. It is the box on every drugstore shelf in America, the one with the campaign that told women they were worth it for 50 years. L'Oreal Paris is the #1 selling hair color brand in the United States. The default, the baseline, the one everyone has used at least once. That trust was built over decades of advertising and sheer ubiquity. When a brand is everywhere, it starts to feel safe. Nobody questions the thing that has always been there. In January 2025, cosmetologist Hector Corvera filed a lawsuit naming L'Oreal USA as a defendant, alleging decades of applying their products caused his bladder cancer. By June 2025, a California judge consolidated 12 similar cases into a single proceeding. Consumer Reports independent lab testing in April 2026 found L'Oreal Paris had the highest levels of methylene chloride, a probable human carcinogen, of all 23 products tested. The EWG confirms PPD and resorcinol in the verified formula. Resorcinol is a known endocrine disruptor. PPD is a documented skin sensitizer linked to bladder cancer in occupational studies. Looks like the brand trusted for 50 years. Reads like the highest carcinogen levels in a 23-product investigation and a named defendant in consolidated bladder cancer litigation. L'Oreal SA also owns Redken, Garnier, and Kerastase, one parent company. Multiple brands on this avoid list. For the woman who reached for L'Oreal Paris because everywhere felt like proof of safety, this is what you actually bought. The highest methylene chloride levels in the study. PPD, resorcinol, a company named in active cancer litigation. Carve-out. L'Oreal Paris Magic Root. Precision Pen showed no detectable phthalates in Consumer Reports testing. Limited scalp contact, the least harmful option in the range. Worth it for 50 years. Highest carcinogen levels in the study. The slogan stayed the same. The receipts did not. The next brand has been in American homes since 1956. It built the entire habit of home hair coloring, and it is named in the same lawsuit. Avoid brand 2. Clairol Nice and Easy. It is the box their mother kept under the bathroom sink. Clairol Nice and Easy launched in 1956 and invented home hair coloring as a mainstream American habit. The name itself was a reassurance. Nice, easy, nothing to worry about. Clairol built its trust on generational familiarity. Women did not choose this brand. They inherited it, passed from mother to daughter without question. That kind of trust does not require proof. It just requires time. A May 2025 lawsuit filed by cosmetologist Patrice Colomesta, who began working in 1972, names Clairol among the defendants. The Matarazzo lawsuit filed in March 2025 states directly that none of the Clairol products she used during her 11-year career carried any warning that long-term exposure could cause bladder cancer. She was diagnosed at 50 years old. Consumer Reports lab testing confirmed PPD in Clairol Root Touch-Up, permanent by Nice and Easy. Clairol is currently a subsidiary of Wella, owned by Coty and KKR. Multiple ownership changes. Same formula. Looks like the trusted family staple passed down through generations. Reads like a named defendant in multiple bladder cancer lawsuits with no warning on the box. Clairol has been owned by Procter & Gamble, Coty, and now Wella. The brand changed hands 3 times. The PPD stayed. For the woman who used Clairol because her mother used it and familiarity felt like safety, this is what you actually bought. PPD, active litigation. A diagnosis at 50 with no warning on the label she ever read. Carve-out. Clairol. Natural Instincts is semi-permanent, contains no resorcinol, and showed no detectable phthalates in Consumer Reports testing. The least harmful option in the range. Generational trust, active litigation. The name was nice and easy. The formula never was. Still reaching for the same box your mother used? Subscribe before brand 3. It is the Salon Professional brand, and it is named in the same lawsuit. The next brand is the one in the Salon Back Bar, named in 3 separate bladder cancer lawsuits in the first 4 months of 2025 alone. Avoid brand 3. Wella Professionals. It is the product in the Salon Back Bar. the one your colorist reaches for without thinking. Women trust it because a trained professional chose it. That choice feels like an endorsement. If your stylist uses it, it must have passed a higher standard. Wella built its credibility on professional exclusivity. Not sold at drugstores, not available off a shelf, that scarcity created authority. Professional only became shorthand for safer and more considered. The Corvera lawsuit filed in January 2025 names Wella as a defendant. The Matarazzo lawsuit filed in March names Wella directly. The Colamesta lawsuit filed in May names Wella again. 3 separate bladder cancer lawsuits. 4 months. The same brand. A June 2025 New York hairdresser lawsuit also names Wella. All allege failure to warn salon professionals that aromatic amines in Wella products are linked to elevated bladder cancer risk. Looks like the professional-grade choice your colorist vetted. Reads like a defendant in 4 bladder cancer lawsuits filed in the same year. Wella is owned by Coty and KKR following a series of acquisitions from Procter & Gamble. Professional heritage, private equity ownership, 2 different things. For the woman who trusted Wella because a licensed professional chose it and professional felt like the highest safety endorsement, this is what you actually bought. Aromatic amines. 4 active lawsuits. A professional label with no warning inside it. Wella Color Fresh is a semi-permanent gloss with lower chemical penetration than permanent color. Not clean, but the least aggressive option in the range for occasional use. Professional label. 4 bladder cancer lawsuits in 4 months. The scarcity was real. The safety standard was not. The next brand built its identity on science and pH technology, named in the same litigation. Avoid brand 4, Redken. It is the brand that talks about pH, protein systems, clinical language. Redken makes hair color sound like dermatology. Women who read labels and ask questions chose it specifically because it sounded like someone did the science. Redken built its credibility on technical positioning. The brand launched in 1960 as a science-forward alternative to conventional salon color. The vocabulary was clinical. The authority was specific. Ingredient-aware buyers trusted it because it spoke their language. The Corvera lawsuit filed in January 2025 names Redken as a defendant. A June 2025 New York hairdresser lawsuit names Redken alongside L'Oreal, Paul Mitchell, and Clairol, alleging decades of occupational exposure caused her bladder cancer. Redken is owned by L'Oreal, the same parent company whose Paris line topped Consumer Reports' methylene chloride findings. Redken Permanent Color contains PPD and aromatic amines, the exact ingredient class at the center of every lawsuit on this list. Looks like the science-backed professional formula held to a higher standard. Reads like a named defendant in active bladder cancer litigation owned by the highest-ranking carcinogen finding in the Consumer Reports study. L'Oreal owns Redken, Garnier, L'Oreal Paris, and Kerastase. 1 parent company. 4 brands on this avoid list. For the ingredient-aware woman who chose Redken because the clinical language felt like proof of a higher formulation standard, this is what you actually bought. PPD, aromatic amines, active litigation. From a brand owned by the company with the worst Consumer Reports carcinogen result, Redken Color. Gels lacquers is demi-permanent with lower scalp penetration than permanent color. The least harmful option in the range for frequent users. Science language. Aromatic amine formula. The pH technology was real. The safety claim was not. Does your salon use any of these without telling you what is inside them? Subscribe. The next brand is the one with the founding story, and cosmetologists with cancer are suing it. The next brand was built by a cosmetologist who understood what stylists needed. Now cosmetologists with bladder cancer are suing it by name. Avoid brand 5, John Paul Mitchell. Systems. It is the black and white bottle in every salon. Clean lines, no clutter. John Paul Mitchell. Systems built its reputation on professional integrity and stylist culture. Women trust it because stylists trust it, and stylists trusted it because the whole brand was built by one of them. John Paul Mitchell co-founded the company in 1980 with $4,500. The founding story is genuine. A cosmetologist who understood what the industry needed and built something for it. That origin transferred trust directly to the formula. If a stylist built it for stylists, it had to be safer than the corporate alternatives. Carl Kimbley was a cosmetologist from 1981 until 2015. He applied hair dye 2 to 3 times a week, 5 days a week, for 34 years. In 2024, he was diagnosed with bladder cancer. He is suing John Paul Mitchell by name, alleging the brand never warned him that its products increased cancer risk. The Corvera lawsuit filed in January 2025 also names John Paul Mitchell as a defendant. The IARC classifies occupational exposure to hair dyes as a probable carcinogen. Looks like the brand a cosmetologist built for cosmetologists. Reads like a defendant in active bladder cancer litigation filed by cosmetologists. Professional positioning is not a safety certification. The aromatic amines in drugstore dyes are present in professional salon lines. The applicator changed. The chemistry did not. For the woman who paid more for John Paul Mitchell because a stylist built it, and that felt like the most credible safety endorsement possible. This is what you actually bought. Aromatic amines. Active litigation. A founding story that never included a safety warning. Paul Mitchell. Tea tree. Special Color uses a gentler surfactant system than the standard professional color line. The litigation concerns apply across the full permanent color range regardless. A stylist built it. Stylists are now suing it. The founding story was real. The warning never came. The next brand wraps the same aromatic amine formula in German engineering language and charges premium for it. Avoid brand 6, Schwarzkopf. It is the brand that sounds like it was precision engineered in a laboratory. The name alone signals something clinical, rigorous, European. Schwarzkopf sits above the standard drugstore tier and markets itself on the credibility of over a century of German hair care heritage. Schwarzkopf launched in Berlin in 1898. Over a century of European heritage, that longevity became its own credential. Women who wanted something more considered than a mass-market box reached for Schwarzkopf specifically because age and origin felt like proof of a higher standard. Schwarzkopf is owned by Henkel. Henkel AG and Corbett KGaA is named directly as a defendant in the Matarazzo lawsuit filed March 2025 in the U.S. District Court for the Central District of California. The lawsuit alleges Henkel's hair dye products contain carcinogenic aromatic amines and that the company failed to disclose associated health risks. Schwarzkopf's professional Igora Royal line is specifically cited in litigation as a product containing aromatic amines used without adequate safety warnings. Mamavation's independent investigation found Schwarzkopf Color Ultim contains dual alkalizers, multiple sensitizers including PTD and resorcinol analogs, and undisclosed fragrance. Looks like a century of precision European formulation that justifies the premium price. Reads like a named defendant in active bladder cancer litigation through its parent company Henkel. Schwarzkopf products retail at $12 to $20 for at-home lines and significantly more for professional Igora Royale. The premium signals quality. The ingredient deck signals the same aromatic amine class as every other brand on this list. For the woman who paid more for Schwarzkopf because German engineering felt like a formulation promise, this is what you actually bought. Aromatic amines, a parent company named in active cancer litigation. Dual alkalizers and undisclosed fragrance underneath the European branding. Schwarzkopf Keratin Color contains conditioning agents that reduce scalp contact time during application. Not clean, but less aggressive than Igora Royal for at-home users. Century of heritage, active litigation through Henkel. The precision was real, the safety was not disclosed. The next brand puts a hormone-disrupting phthalate in the box it markets with fruit oil imagery and celebrity campaigns. Avoid brand 7, Garnier Nutrisse. It is the box with grapes on it, sunflowers, fruit oil concentrate. Garnier Nutrisse is the box women reach for when they want something that feels more considered than standard drugstore dye. The name sounds nourishing. The imagery looks organic. The whole thing is designed to feel like a step up. Garnier built this line on the idea that hair color could also care for your hair. The fruit oil positioning was not an accident. It was a deliberate decision to occupy the space between a harsh chemical dye and something natural. Women who read labels chose Nutrisse because it felt halfway to clean. Consumer Reports' independent lab testing in April 2026 found DEHP inside Garnier Nutrisse. DEHP is a phthalate. Consumer Reports has previously linked to insulin resistance, high blood pressure, early menopause, and reproductive issues. The EWG Skin Deep database confirms PPD, resorcinol, ammonium hydroxide, and undisclosed fragrance in the verified formula. Resorcinol is a known endocrine disruptor. The federal government regulates resorcinol exposure in workplaces. There are no equivalent limits for personal care products applied to the scalp. Looks like the nourishing, fruit-powered upgrade from standard box dye. Reads like a hormone-disrupting phthalate linked to early menopause underneath the grape imagery. Garnier is a L'Oreal subsidiary. L'Oreal topped Consumer Reports' methylene chloride findings across their product range. The fruit oil story and the parent company's lab results are two different documents. For the woman who chose Nutrisse because the fruit oils made it feel safer than the other boxes on the shelf, this is what you actually bought. DEHP, resorcinol, PPD, undisclosed fragrance, underneath the grapes. Garnier Olea is oil-based and ammonia-free, reducing fume exposure during application. It still contains PPD substitutes and resorcinol, but eliminates the ammonia penetration pathway. Fruit oils on the front, hormone-disrupting phthalate inside. The nourishing claim was marketing. The lab result was not. The next brand markets itself as ammonia-free and affordable. Consumer reports found it had the second and third highest probable carcinogen levels of any product in the study. Avoid brand 8, Revlon Color Silk. It is the $7 box with the ammonia-free label, the silk proteins, the 100% gray coverage promise. Revlon Color Silk is the affordable switch women make when they want to avoid the harsh stuff. The ammonia-free label feels like progress, like someone finally listened. Revlon built Color Silk on accessibility and the gentle positioning. Ammonia-free became the entire promise. Women who had heard ammonia was bad reached for Color Silk, specifically because removing one ingredient felt like a meaningful safety upgrade. The price made it easy to justify. Consumer Reports' independent lab testing in April 2026 found Revlon Color Silk contained the second and third highest levels of methylene chloride of all 23 products in the study. Methylene chloride is a probable human carcinogen. It was found in every single product tested. Revlon Color Silk sat near the top. Mamavision's independent investigation also flagged the full Color Silk range for ethanolamine chemicals, strong sensitizers, resorcinol, aminophenols, and undisclosed fragrance. Looks like the responsible, affordable upgrade for women who already did the research. Reads like the second and third highest probable carcinogen levels in a 23-product investigation. Ammonia-free does not mean carcinogen-free. Ethanolamine replaced the ammonia as the cuticle opener. The scalp penetration pathway remained. The methylene chloride remained. The label changed. The formula did not. For the woman who switched to Color Silk specifically because ammonia-free sounded like the responsible choice, this is what you actually bought. The second highest methylene chloride levels in the study, from the gentler option, Revlon Color Silk. Beautiful Color showed no detectable phthalates in Consumer Reports testing. If you are a current Color Silk user, that specific line has the fewest concerns in the range. Ammonia-free label, probable carcinogen near the top of the study. The switch felt responsible, the lab said otherwise. The next brand built its entire identity on serving a specific community. The NIH found a 60% breast cancer risk increase in that exact community. The brand never put it on the box. Avoid brand 9. Dark and Lovely. It is the box that understood black hair before the rest of the industry bothered to try. Dark and Lovely built its name on representation, on texture, on the specific needs of black women's hair in a market that largely ignored them. Women chose it because it was made for them. That specificity became deep, lasting loyalty. Dark and Lovely launched in 1971 as one of the first hair color brands developed specifically for black women. The brand understood undertones, porosity, and texture in a way generic brands did not. That knowledge created a trust relationship that went beyond product performance. It felt like the brand was on their side. The NIH sister study followed 46,000 women and found that among African American women who used permanent hair dye every 5 to 8 weeks, breast cancer risk increased by 60%. That is not a general population finding applied broadly. That is a finding about the specific community Dark and Lovely has always served. The brand's permanent color contains PPD and aromatic amines, the exact ingredient class linked to elevated cancer risk in the occupational studies underlying the active bladder cancer litigation. Dark and Lovely is owned by Revlon. No warning about the NIH finding has ever appeared on the packaging. Dark and Lovely is owned by Revlon, one parent company. 2 brands on this avoid list. For the woman who chose Dark and Lovely because it was built for her hair and that felt like the brand was genuinely on her side, this is what you actually bought. PPD, aromatic amines. Dark and Lovely. Au Naturel, anti-breakage. Hair color is formulated with a gentler developer system designed for color-treated natural hair. The least chemically aggressive option in the Dark and Lovely range. Built for black women. 60% breast cancer risk finding for black women. The representation was real. The warning never came. The next brand is the one women reach for when they have already done the research and think they found the safe option. They have not. Avoid brand 10, Naturtint. It is the box with the green packaging and the plant-based imagery. Naturtint is what women reach for after they have already investigated the other brands and decided to make a cleaner choice. The permanent hair color with the organic story. The one that feels like the research is already done. Naturtint built its trust on the natural positioning, plant-derived ingredients, no harsh chemical language. The green packaging communicated something different from the standard drugstore shelf. Women who had watched videos like this one, who had read ingredient lists, who had already switched away from L'Oreal and Clairol, landed on Naturtint as the responsible destination. Consumer Reports tested Naturtint as part of their April 2026 investigation of 23 hair dye products. The findings confirmed PPD in the Naturtint formula. The EPA classifies exposure to high levels of PPD as capable of causing severe dermatitis, eye irritation, and asthma. The IARC links aromatic amines, including PPD, to elevated bladder cancer risk in occupational studies. The natural label does not change what is in the formula. Consumer Reports did find no detectable phthalates in Naturtint, which is genuinely better than multiple brands on this list, but PPD remains. Looks like the clean destination women arrive at after doing all the research. Reads like PPD confirmed by Consumer Reports. In the formula of the brand marketed as the natural alternative, Naturtint retails at around $15 to $20, significantly more than drugstore dyes. The premium price signals a premium safety standard. The PPD finding does not support that signal. For the woman who switched to Naturtint specifically because she had already done the research and the natural branding felt like proof she had finally found the safe option, this is what you actually bought. PPD, in the green box. After all that research, Naturtint showed no detectable phthalates in Consumer Reports testing and uses plant-based carrier ingredients alongside PPD, the cleanest permanent dye with gray coverage on this entire avoid list. But it is still on the avoid list. Natural packaging. PPD confirmed. The research felt done. It was not. Go check your bathroom cabinet right now. If any of these 10 brands are on your shelf, you now know exactly what is inside them. Okay, stop for a second. You just sat through 10 brands, 12 bladder cancer lawsuits consolidated in California, a probable human carcinogen in every single product Consumer Reports tested, and one parent company owning 4 brands on this avoid list simultaneously. Here is the playbook. Step 2, the marketing expands. Step 3, Step 4, a lawsuit or an independent lab surfaces what the label omitted. The product stays on the shelf. That is not 10 separate stories. That is one story told 10 times. 4 brands removed the worst of it. Safe pick 1, Madison Reed. Where others sell permanent color with PPD and aromatic amines linked to active cancer litigation, this sells a Smart 8 free formula with none of them. Founded in 2013 by Amy Errett, with one thesis: women should not have to choose between color that works and color that does not contain the ingredient class named in active bladder cancer lawsuits. Leaping Bunny certified, formulated to strict EU safety standards. Dermatologists tested in a published clinical study confirming the formula is non-damaging to hair and scalp. No PPD, no resorcinol, no ammonia, no parabens. 8 restricted ingredients, all verified and published. Consumer Reports found phthalates in the permanent color line, the Color. Reviving Gloss contains no colorant chemistry at all and is the cleanest product in their range, around $26 to $32. Available at Ulta, Target, and MadisonReed.com. If you have spent years looking for permanent color that eliminated the ingredient class named in the lawsuits, this is the closest option available. The next brand skips the permanent dye chemistry entirely. Safe pick 2, Arctic Fox. Where others sell semi-permanent color with sensitizing aromatic amines, this sells a formula with no PPD, no ammonia, and no peroxide, with no flagged findings in Consumer Reports or independent lab investigations. Founded in 2014 by Kristen Leanne, after she could not find a vivid color brand without chemistry she did not want on her scalp. Vegan and cruelty-free with third-party verification. No PPD, no aromatic amines, no oxidative chemistry. Color deposits onto the hair shaft rather than penetrating the scalp, removing the absorption pathway that underlies the bladder cancer litigation entirely. Semi-permanent only. Will not cover gray on natural hair. Requires pre-lightened hair for full color payoff. Around $9 to $13. Available at Ulta, Sally Beauty, and ArcticFoxHairColor.com. The next brand has been PPD-free since 1977. Safe pick 3, Manic Panic. Where others sell vivid color with aromatic amines, this sells a formula free of PPD, ammonia, and peroxide with a founding story that predates the clean beauty movement by decades. Founded in 1977 by Tish and Snooki Belomo in New York City. Vegan and cruelty-free before those were marketing categories. Never used PPD, not as a recent reformulation. From the very beginning, no PPD, no ammonia, no peroxide. Third-party vegan and cruelty-free certification confirmed. Requires pre-lightened hair for full color payoff. Fades in 4 to 6 weeks. Not a gray coverage solution. around $10 to $14. Available at Ulta, Hot Topic, and ManicPanic.com. The next brand removes the dye step entirely. Safe Pick 4. Overtone. Where others sell color through chemical scalp penetration, this sells color through conditioning with no alkalizers, no oxidants, and no aromatic amines. Founded in 2014 by Maricela Yip and Leora Wright. No PPD, no ammonia, no peroxide, no chemical class found in any of the active litigation on this list. Color deposits on the hair surface rather than penetrating the scalp. Will not cover gray on natural, uncolored hair. A maintenance tool only. Not a starting point dye for gray coverage. Around $28 to $35 per kit. Available at Ulta, Target, and Overtone.com. You just sat through 10 brands. 12 bladder cancer lawsuits consolidated in California. L'Oreal owning 4 brands on this avoid list while topping Consumer Reports carcinogen findings. A 60% breast cancer risk increase for African American women in the NIH sister study. No warning on any box. Still on the shelf. It is not a mistake. It is the model. Pick up your hair dye box tomorrow morning. If you see piphenylanidiamine or resorcinol on that label, you are holding the ingredient class 12 hairstylists with bladder cancer are suing over right now. Tell me in the comments which brand you have been using the longest. If someone you know is still using any of these, send this to them. The system is not broken. It is working exactly the way it was built to work. You were never supposed to find out what PPD does after 20 years of application. Stay sharp. Read those labels. Keep rising.